G'day, it's David Collings here, and this is another NaNoWriMo live stream video. So it is now day 5, and I didn't do all that well yesterday, but before I do that, where's it gone? Where's it gone? I've lost it. Where has it gone? I don't have my intro. Oh well, let's not worry about the intro. Instead, let's just go straight in here and have a look at how I'm going. So as you can see, my graph is kind of flattened out a bit. So those first 2-3 days, I was doing fantastic. I was meeting and slightly exceeding my word count goals. And then yesterday, I only wrote about 400 words. I did not get a lot of sleep that night before, and it was just a really yucky day, and so things went pretty ordinary. So I've got some catching up to do, but it is weekend, and it's a long weekend, so that will be very helpful. So I have already not logged them there yet, but I've already written 583 words this morning before I came in here. So that's where I'm at, so I've got to get this up to the line, basically. So that is the plan. Now, I thought it might be fun to just briefly show you that I have a playlist in Spotify for NaNoWriMo. Did you know how many songs there are about NaNoWriMo? There's a couple. The first thing, this is actually Write Your Story by Francesco Battistelli. It's not specifically about NaNoWriMo, or even strictly about writing, but it just keeps, in the chorus, keeps repeating the line, write your story, and I thought that was amusingly inspiring and motivating, so I've kind of claimed that as my theme song for NaNoWriMo for this year. But a band called All Caps have a song called the NaNoWriMo Song, and then down here we've got John Anelio. He's got a song called NaNoWriMo, and just a few other kind of book-related songs I've thrown in there, so that's just a bit of fun. Alright. So, I have finished Act 1, and you can see it all there. Lots of words. And so my manuscript is currently sitting at 6,490 words, which is roughly what it should be at the end of Act 1. So, I've created my folder for the first half of the second act, and I have created all my scenes on the lovely corkboard we have here. So, my next step is to write this first scene. Now you'll notice that I'm actually outside today. It is now spring, and so I thought, well, why not? Spring can be a little bit weird in Tasmania. We tend to get 4 seasons in one day, but this is what feels like a proper spring day. So yes, we're writing in the backyard, and I've actually got better Wi-Fi signal here than I did in the room where I have been writing lately, so there's that. Alright. So, what do we have here? So, in the last scene, our chief engineer, Sarah, was trying to figure out what on earth was going on with the engines. Things have been a bit strange, and we've just been subtly mentioning that as the act went on. But in this last scene at the end of Act 1, the ship dropped out of warp for absolutely no reason. And so they're a little bit concerned about that. So that is essentially our first plot point. We've dropped out of warp, we're dead in space, the engines are just not working anymore, what's going on? So that's where we pick up here. So our goal is to figure out why the ship dropped out of warp and get it going again. Conflict, Captain Miller appears demanding answers, and there's nothing obviously wrong with the engines. Disaster, no obvious explanation for the engine failure. Decides to keep investigating before risking going to warp. So, let's see what we can do with this. Bit of wind coming up. That probably is wreaking havoc with the microphone. Hopefully that doesn't sound too bad. So, in this last scene, I kind of introduced this amusing little thing where Sarah, the chief engineer, likes to talk to the engines, and she kind of speaks to them as if they're her child. And her offsider, Jonah, finds that kind of amusing, but she just finds it a good way of clearing her head. So just a little quirk of her character. Oh, that was pretty bad. It really wasn't this windy when I decided to come out here. It's not bothering me, I just hope it's not making horrible wind noises on the microphone. bit of music playing in the background of another house, a couple of blocks down, I think. So we're on top of a hill here, so sound really carries. That's what I was going to check. See if I can actually log into this on YouTube on my phone. Not that I really expect anyone's watching live at the moment, but I'd hate to miss anything in the comments if there was something. There you go. History, notifications. Yeah, no, that's not what I want. You probably do it, but maybe you have to initiate the stream from the phone. Anyway, doesn't matter. I think that's basically the scene. Here we go. Now, I'm just having a look at my live streaming page here, and in the chat here, there's a couple of comments from Funky007. Now, I believe that was probably during my last stream, because that same user, sorry about the wind again, that same user made a couple of comments. We discussed the writing software I'm using, which is of course Scrivener. But he's just asked the question, has Adam read the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey? Yes, so I read the first book, which was Leviathan Wakes. I read that in paperback. I got that from the library, our local library here in Launceston. That was a year or two ago I read that. And I'm actually currently reading the second book, Caliban's War, listening to it on audio through Audible. About halfway through the second book. And the TV series, The Expanse, has just appeared on Netflix here in Australia. So I actually watched the first episode of that yesterday and just finished it this morning over breakfast, in fact. So, yes, no, I'm very slowly getting up to speed with that series. I think having the TV series is good because, with these big chunky books, particularly if you're reading lots of other things, it's so easy to kind of forget the fine details between books. So being able to watch the TV series, season 1 basically is the first book, of course, is a good way of just reminding me of what happens that I've probably forgotten, and just, I don't know, getting another perspective on those characters and maybe getting to know them a little bit better. I don't know, I find that handy. Anyway, I know now that I can... Oh, right. So, yeah, so Funky007 is actually online right now, and, yeah, watching the series on Netflix as well, so that's pretty cool. Alright, well, let's get back to this then. Another scene. So, we're back with Captain Miller now. So, I may have mentioned in a previous video that in the first book, basically the scene starts, Captain Miller is getting ready to go on board the ship to begin the cruise, and this crazy guy appears on his doorstep in tattered clothing and stuff, making predictions of doom, something terrible is going to happen, which the captain doesn't think about until after Earth is invaded, and he thinks, well, maybe he knew something. Maybe he's in collusion with the enemy. And at the beginning of this book, in this first scene, Captain Miller thought that he'd spotted that guy on the promenade. Anyway, he has been thinking more about it, and he's been keeping an eye out, and he actually found the guy and arrested him in this second last scene in Act 1. So, in this scene now, basically, we're going to interrogate him. Okay, now, this guy, his name is actually Willem, pronounced with a V instead of a W. This is a South African name, which I googled, because this character is from South Africa. Alright, so... Interestingly, I generally refer to the captain by his first name, Les, from his point of view, but I referred to him as Miller from Sarah's point of view in the previous scene. Now, what on earth is that? That's meant to be Sigh. Conventional wisdom says that you probably should always refer to them by the same name to avoid confusing the reader. By the same token, if you're going deep point of view with each character, you know, the engineer is more likely to think of him as Captain Miller or just Miller, rather than by thinking of him in terms of his first name. So it's more true to the point of view to refer to him as Miller from her scene. So I'm going to think about that. I may change it. I may not. The other thing, I tend to have characters sighing a lot, which is another thing that can annoy readers. So I'll probably take that out in editing. But I don't know, when I'm writing these things, I try and picture myself almost act out in my head as the character, and I don't know, it just seems to be a natural thing that often comes to me. The first sentence of a scene is often the hardest. You just got to write something just to get yourself going. Okay. Let's not bother wasting time with the lift journey. Whoa. Look at all these leaves dropping out of the tree on me, because I'm sitting under a tree. They gather in such large numbers, they can be good compost if you gather them up. Good for killing weeds. And my son has just come into the backyard. You want something, Harry? What's up?
How are you? Daddy, what's you doing?
I am LiveStreaming and I'm writing my book.
I read my brown black and dark.
Yeah, okay. You can. Yes. Alright, you can make file with this thing. Alright. Nice. I did have his last name down in here actually. John. G-O-N-G-H. Forgot the name of the city now. It's a big city in Canada. I will quickly... Actually, no. This is NaNoWriMo. I'll fill it in later. Trying to call attention to yourself, Harry.
Principal's office now. Can I have a 2-litre? Can I have a bottle? A 6-inch sub?
you got any money to go buy one?
Can I
So we went to Subway for tea the other night.
Can I have a Ollie Bollen? Thank you.
Right, Harry, I'm working here, mate.
Oh, Red, you're fighting the grass. Huh?
Our grass is very long because we haven't cut it since last summer, and
Meow.
the cat likes to hide in it. It's like a little jungle for him.
Meow. And he likes to keep things.
This is Harry. You can come wave if you want.
Hi.
Yep. Alright.
Meow. Meow. Emily bit me!
Well, maybe you shouldn't bother him. It's probably just doing
No!
I think I should probably go deal with this.